Hi everyone and welcome to the Have You Got 10 Minutes podcast with me, Nikki Tapper. I'll be chatting to household names from TV, film, music and business, and because they're busy people and don't have much time, hence the title. It gives you and me the opportunity to hear a little about their lives, what they're currently up to and their favourite music track. So let's get straight into things. And my guest on this first episode of the series is Scarlette Douglas. She's well known for being a TV presenter on the long-standing programme A Place in the Sun on Channel 4. So I ask her, Scarlette, have you got 10 minutes?
I've always got 10 minutes for you.
Oh, thank you, Scarlette. Really do appreciate it. Great to see you and catch up with you again. And I mentioned there just some of the things that people may know you for, but there are always some people that don't. So just share a little bit about your journey. How did you even get into TV presenting in the first place?
So, Nikki, my journey, I guess, is a bit different to a lot of people's. I actually was doing musical theatre professionally for 8 years in the West End. I travelled around the world. I had the most amazing career actually performing on stage, which I loved. And then it got to a point where I kind of realised it's something that I couldn't do forever. I remember I was 24 and my brother had said to me, what are you going to do when you can't sing and dance for the rest of your life? And for me, I was like, what do you mean? I'm just going to be doing jazz hands across the stage forever. And he was like, no, you really need to consider a pension because you don't have one. And at the time, Equity, who is the company that kind of look after performers, what's the word? What do you call it?
Like an agent, like an agent, or just
no? It's kind of like it's our union. Sorry, there we go.
Yes.
Equity is like a performing arts union, and they actually had a pension scheme which I thought I had signed up to. Turns out I hadn't. So I had been working for like 5 years, and here I was thinking I'd been banking some money, and I hadn't been banking anything. Oh. So when my brother said that, I was like, you know what, you're right. I really need to think about what I'm going to do. And my brother, who was in football, but also thought about the fact that he couldn't play football forever, he got into flipping properties, kind of by accident, but flipping them and making a profit from them nonetheless. So he kind of took me under his wing and we started a property company together when I was 24, and that would have made him 32 at the time. Is that right? Quick maths, something like that, 33.
Yeah. He's still only 21. He's still only 21.
Yeah. Thank you. And I guess I used my creative flair of being on the stage and, you know, being around different sets and costumes to do the interior design side of the property company. So I would kind of go in at the beginning and decide what sort of colours would work in this property and where we'd put soft furnishings, etc., etc. And we worked really well together. So we were doing that. Obviously, I was still performing. Another 4 years of doing musicals. I did a musical called I Can't Sing, which was the X Factor musical that Harry Hill wrote and Simon Cowell produced. It was on at the London Palladium. It was supposed to do a year. Ended up doing 2.5 months. We got a 2-week notice and that was that show finished. And I thought, what am I going to do? I've got no work. We just bought a new property to renovate. I had no money coming in, and I was really worried. So I went on tour randomly with Anton Deck as a backing dancer. I'd auditioned for their show. And whilst I was with them, I'd always known I kind of like to talk a lot. And I'd always do little interviews backstage with friends. And then I just thought being with them and the career that they've managed to create for themselves, that is exactly what I wanted. So I plucked up the courage just to interview them and ask them if I could, you know, interview them to go on a YouTube channel that I was starting up because I wanted to be a presenter. And they were brilliant. They were like, absolutely, Scarlette, if this is what you want to do, we'll help you wherever we can. So I did the interview. They set me up meetings with their agent, with production companies. And I got so much good advice from them that I took that, went to the agent that I'd already managed to get from a competition I'd won with MTV, and told her that, look, my expertise, as much as I want to do entertainment presenting, my expertise is actually property. And I've been developing properties for the last 4 or 5 years. And they didn't know that. So when I went in and had that meeting, they had seen A Place in the Sun, were looking for new presenters that had a property background. I did interviews, a Zoom, a screen test. And then before you know it, I got the job. So my first ever presenting gig was A Place in the Sun on Channel 4, which is their most prestigious daytime show. And I've never looked back since. And that was back in June 2015, and here we are however long later.
Look at that, 9, 10 years on nearly. That is amazing
Yeah.
to hear. And just also about your journey, it shows me that you have then a kind of inborn spirit and tenacity to keep going, because we know creative industries, TV, radio, it's a real fierce world to be in. What's given you that strength to fight on in this way?
I think I've seen my parents be fighters all their lives. My dad had a radio station called WNK, which was the first legal black radio station in the UK. And unfortunately, due to things that were outside of his control, he lost that business. And even though I was very young at the time, I remember my dad being down about it, but getting back up and going out and recreating himself and reinventing himself straight away. And that's at an older age. He was a full-on adult and he had to go and completely reinvent himself. And all he'd known his whole life was music and being a DJ. So when that happened and him going to set up a very successful chauffeur company, he was driving lots of celebrities, delegates. He was part of Obama's procession when he was inaugurated and came over to the UK and over to London.
Oh, hang on. Wait, no. A bit of a mic drop moment there. Excuse me?
Yeah, my dad is huge. He set up Black History Month in the UK. He was part of, what would you call it? I'm not sure what exactly you would call it, but when Nelson Mandela was getting freed, my dad did a lot for him, so that when he was freed, my dad was invited to his dinner in London. He was driving part of Obama's, I guess, his people when he came over for his inauguration. So seeing how, one failure for my dad turned into a huge success, for me, I've never really felt I could ever fail at anything, because you can always reinvent yourself and always be even more successful.
No, look, so, I normally wouldn't, and I feel like I should say, it was really nice talking to you, Scarlette. Can you get your dad?
I know. I should have made sure he was here.
Just give your dad a shout out, because I just think these are the key. This is the joy of hearing people's stories.
My dad, Joe Douglas, as I said, from WNK, huge influence on my life and on a lot of lives of DJs that are very prominent now. My dad really did a lot. He brought over artists such as SWV. He brought over artists such as like the Shy Lights and Temptations. My dad was really, really big in terms of music over here. And I think seeing him do that and just always being able to dust himself off and go again has really been ingrained in me. So even when the last musical I did flopped, you can say that's a flop, or really you can say that was the catalyst for me then trying something else. And I'd like to say I've been even more successful at presenting than I had been at musicals. And I was very successful in musicals.
No, definitely. Wow. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm in awe. I'm in shock and I'm in awe. And I just think it's just the joy of hearing somebody like your dad, what I'm doing and being in local radio, it just tells me this is why one has to acknowledge the pioneers that went before.
Absolutely.
Because if it wasn't for someone like your dad, we wouldn't have the Trevor Nelsons or the DJ
No,
Spoonies at all. And like you said, which is true, for what you've done, it was so. I always remember the first time seeing you on Place in the Sun, and I was like, my husband and I, especially my husband, mad fan, and he was like, "What? This is such a joy, because you do warm to seeing somebody that looks like you, sounds like you to a degree, or at least you would know has had some of that experience, and therefore it tells you can propel yourself and do really well. And there you are with your two brothers. You've got Stuart, who's the one I think you do most of the work with in terms of the TV programs. What's it been like working with your sibling in that sense on television?
Everyone always asks me that question, but to be honest, I really enjoy it. Like, we have so much fun on set. Stuart is a big joker. He likes to mess around all the time. I'm normally telling him off. That's what he'll tell everybody, but I actually am telling him off. But we just have so much fun because it's what we do anyway off camera, and now it's just doing the same thing on camera. So we always say we like to be as authentic as possible. We are really us, and then when people meet us in person, they're like, oh my God, you're exactly what you're like on television. And of course, that's exactly what we want, because you do meet celebs sometimes that are not quite what they portray on TV, and you do feel let down and disappointed. And we never want that. We want to be our honest, truthful selves. So yeah, it's made it really easy because, again, it's just us, but there's just cameras on us.
And would you say that you also carry the fact that that a black British face on television says a lot more. And so do you think both you and Stuart and, and all you as a family know what that means to represent black British Caribbean heritage people?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think in the UK, unfortunately, there is still maybe not so much a stigma, but there's always going to be stereotypes. And me and my brother are proud to be able to break a lot of those. And, we know loads of people in colour that are in property, and property is known as, I guess, a career path for older or for white men that have had these things kind of passed down to them through generations. And we are here to break that fad and be like, no, you can do property no matter what sex you are, age you are, color you are, as long as you want to do it and you are willing to put in the work, you can do whatever you want. Yeah. And we are really, really passionate about making sure we push that message forward.
Well, our 10 minutes is nearly up, Scarlette. It's been an absolute joy, as always, to talk to you. Just a quick thing on what you're going to be doing for the rest of this year. I know you've recently been hanging out in LA, y'all.
Los Angeles, yeah. So I have my green card now. So I'm going to be living between the States and the UK. I've had some meetings with management over there, agents and production companies, and they were all pretty good as well, actually. So I'm happy about that. But me and my brother, we've got 3 series that we filmed that they've been banked, ready to come out on Channel 4. Worst House on the Street series 2 and 3 are ready to go, and a brand new series we've got as well called Can't Sell, Must Sell. So you'll be seeing a lot of us, I guess, between kind of now and next year, and hopefully you'll continue to see a lot of us as well, even after next year. So fingers crossed for all of that.
Excellent. Well, look, Scarlette, as I said, thank you again so much. One of the key things I will put in our conversations that I have here, everyone who's listening, is to ask them or ask my guests for their favourite song and why. That's because I love music, and it gives you an opportunity to go and hear the track that they've chosen. So, Scarlette, tell me, what's the track that you love and why?
My favourite track has got to be Curtis Mayfield, Move On Up. And I think it's just such a feel-good song. The extended version, I want to say as well, because that intro just gets you in the mood, and he's always saying, no matter how you're feeling, you just go for it. Just every day, level up, go to that next step. And there have been times when I've really kind of felt like I've wanted to quit, and I've put that song on and I'm like, no, I can't quit. I've got to keep going. So that would be my song for sure.
Excellent. Thank you ever so much. Again, Scarlette Douglas, thank you for sharing with me 10 minutes.
Thank you.
Thanks again to my guest, Scarlette Douglas. Please do follow her on social media platforms and do the same for me. Just look for Nikki Tapper, NIKKITAPPER. Thank you so much for listening, and join me again when I ask my guest, have you got 10 minutes? Have You Got 10 Minutes is produced and created by me, Nikki Tapper, for NT Events Limited.